What's up guys? Welcome back to the channel and thank you so much for tuning in. Today's video is going to be a review of some new products that Sydney Grace is launching in time for their Christmas in July event. They sent me all of the new products as well as some of the sets they are bundling together throughout these many days of sales happening on their website. So I wanted to talk about them, swatch them, share my thoughts on them, give you a demo of this eye look, and hopefully help you out if you had your eye on any of these things ahead of these sales. So let's go ahead and dive in. So first, let's start with the brand new eyeshadow palettes that Sydney Grace is launching, the Summer Days palette and the Chase Your Dreams palette. Technically, they are three eyeshadow palettes because the Summer Days palette has two variations, just like they did with their Enduring Love palette. They have one for light medium skin tones and one for deep skin tones, so you can really customize this according to your preferences. And I actually just did a video, like a chatty tutorial using the Summer Days palette, so if you want to see that in action, you can go check that out. Click the eye, or I'll put the link in the description box below. Both of these palettes will cost $33 individually, but if you go to the Sydney Grace site and check out the list of deals they are having on each day of the Christmas in July event, you'll see that on two separate days, if you make a purchase of $55 or more, you get one of these palettes free, and it varies by the day, so I really recommend you go check that list out so you're prepared for which day that is. But I think that is a pretty good deal, no? Okay, enough talking, let's actually get into the swatches. Let's first start with the Summer Days palette. So each of these comes in a sleeve. This is really fun, glittery packaging. The sleeve is the exact same as the interior palette, and these are cardboard palettes. They do have a magnetic enclosure and a nice sized mirror in there, but they are heavy. They are heavier than your average cardboard palette, and so for me, that to me just makes it feel more substantial, a little bit more high-end, luxurious, and yet still keeps the profile nice and slim and travel-friendly. So, like I said, this is the Summer Days palette. It is full of cool mauve-y nudes, mostly mattes, but you do have some high shine metallic shades in here, and I have the light medium. The difference between this one and the deep are 3 shades, and they are the 3 up here in the top left-hand corner. Basque is deeper and more golden, it looks like, in the deep palette. Sandcastle and Daystar are also totally different shades, much deeper, richer, and more chocolatey, if I recall. But you should definitely go check out, somebody else's review who might have it, or the Sydney Grace page has swatches of the deep, especially compared to the light as well, if you really want to know the differences for sure before you buy. So I think it goes without saying, this is a gorgeous palette. It's classic. I think it's going to be very flattering and very comfortable for a lot of people out there. If you've been looking for a cool nude palette, this could be one to reach for, because although I feel like we've been getting more cooler palettes out there, I recently did a video about my favorite cool eyeshadow palettes, they still aren't as prevalent as warm-toned eyeshadow palettes, so adding another great one to the stack here in case you have been on the hunt for one. And a couple of you also pointed out that it does bear some striking resemblance to some new launches recently, so I wanted to have some comparisons of that for you. First of all is the Pat McGrath Divine Rose 1 palette. Overall, there aren't a ton of identical matches in here. There are only 2, I think, in my opinion, but the color palette is very, very similar, mostly in that you get some cool rosy tones across each. The effect shades are obviously different in the Pat McGrath, and the metallics are like untouchable in the Sydney Grace. So each have their differences, but if you've been eyeing the Divine Rose 1 simply for the color palette and you care less about, the standout textures in the Pat McGrath, you really just want something that will accomplish this overall feel on your lids, this one from Sydney Grace can get you pretty close with some significant variations. The other palette that somebody asked about similarities to is the Natasha Denona Bronze palette, and I have to say there weren't as many, just because the Natasha Denona palette is so much warmer than the Sydney Grace, there aren't a ton of similarities. But there is one. Actually, the shade Silk in Natasha Denona is very, very similar to Camping, which is like the warmest copper shade in the Sydney Grace palette. I'm not sure duping one shadow from the Bronze palette would be worth it to you to pick up this whole thing unless you're interested in all of the other shadows, but just out of curiosity, if you wanted to see a comparison of the two, there's not much except for that one metallic shade. Next, let's talk about the Chase Your Dreams palette, which is what I'm wearing on my eyes today. This, it's so beautiful. If you love a colorful palette, specifically purples and bronzy oranges, this is gonna be a good one for you. This is obviously much more colorful than the Summer Days palette, and it also offers a lot more of those shimmer and really high shine metallic finishes that I think Sydney Grace does so stinking well. The only downside to this palette I see is that I do think the shades Be Bold and You Can are a little similar. I would have liked to see either one that was significantly deeper or one that was significantly lighter to create some contrast. They're really two of the three matte shades you get in this palette, and those mattes can really be crucial for blending the metallic shades out. So I would have liked to see some more contrast there, but beyond that, this is a palette that offers some serious shade range, some intense pigmentation. I mean, I was so impressed with the way the shade The Drive, the intense grapey purple down here in the corner, is wearing on my eyes today. To create this look, by the way, I put the shade You Can, this matte shade here in the center throughout my crease, then, and on my lower lash line as well, just buff that out with a blending brush. Then I went in with the matte black shade in here, which is called Enjoy the Journey, and I used a flat shader to pat and really build that up all over my eyelid, basically inner corner to outer corner, all the way up into that crease, blending it into my crease shade, and also deepening my outer corner on the lower lash line a little bit. Then that's when I went in with that shade The Drive, and I used a different clean flat shader brush to press that all over Enjoy the Journey, and I am so impressed with the almost neon pigmentation putting it over that matte black gave it. Then to finish up the inner corner, I went in with the gold shade in here, The Dream, and I patted that, layered that up in my inner corner for a bright but still colorful pop. And then in my waterline, not from Sydney Grace, it's actually from ColourPop, I used one of their cream gel liners in the shade Punch. They have been doing away with a lot of these shades though, so I don't know if this is available any longer, and I really haven't found any good alternatives as far as bright pencil liners go. So apologies if you can't get a hold of that, but a black liner would really do well with this look too. So those are the Chase Your Dreams and Summer Days palettes. Check the Sydney Grace website to make sure you know which days which palettes are going live on the site, and you can get that deal with them when they do. Now, let's move on to the 4 new individual shadows they're launching. So the first shade is Paris. This is a soft pink champagne, almost like a soft light pinky taupe. The next shade is called the Ballet, and it is a soft dusty pink, like a very muted mauvey rose sort of shade. Next up is a Copper. This shade is called Desert Sun, and then last up is Purple Sky, and this is the most complex shade of the 4 that are coming out. It's a shimmer that has a dark blue-gray base that then has a blue purple sort of glittery or metallic shift to it. It's definitely one of those mysterious shades that's going to add some interest to your eye look. Now in the sale details, it doesn't list which day these individual shadows will be available online to purchase, but if I had to guess, I would say it'd be on the last day, the 19th, because that is when all single eyeshadows are 25% off. So I'd have to imagine these would be included in that bunch. And if they are and you're interested, that is a steal, because Sydney Grace shadows are affordable as it is, but then 25% off, and it's like, that it doesn't get better. Next up are some glitters. They are launching quite a few. I recommend you go to their Instagram to see close-ups of all of them, but they sent me 2 of some of the new shades they're launching. One is Ruby Slippers. It is a classic ruby red glitter, but they've changed up the particle size. It looks like there are 2 different sizes and shapes in here. One's like a larger pentagon or hexagon, some sort of large chunkier shape mixed in with like a traditional smaller red glitter. And I love a multi-dimensional glitter like this because I feel like it just makes it look so much more interesting and complex in an eye look. And if you like complex, you're gonna love the next one, which is called Mermaid Scales. Just like Ruby Slippers, there are different shapes in here, like different sizes, and it's a small blue glitter that then has larger green iridescent glitters peppered inside. It literally looks like I might imagine the scales on a mermaid tail would look like. It's just so gorgeous, and all of these come with a really nice sifter that turns on the inside, so you can either open it up and get like the pepper side where a bunch of little holes are poked in, you just get a little bit, or you can turn it to the wide mouth side where you can dump a whole bunch in your cap like I have, and then you have a mess on your hands, but it's a beautiful mess, so who cares, right? Wrong. Glitter will come back to haunt you. Okay, so last up, let's talk about the mystery bags. So this year, Sydney Grace has 3 different color themes: cool, warm, and bright. And then within those color themes, you can pick the set that best suits your skin tone. Just like the Summer Days palette, they're going to have a light, medium, and a deep option. options. So the option that they sent to me was the Warm Light. And even though they are called mystery bags, the contents of them will not change. So what I show you for the Warm Light bag is what you will get if you purchase the Warm Light bag, just so you know. And this actually is the real mystery bag that you will get. Let's first start off with another glitter. This is called Elegant Lady, and it, kind of like Mermaid scale, is another really complex one where there are actually two different small glitter bases, one light pink, one dark pink, and then there's a big chunkier glitter, maybe even two, where one's a light pink and one is this beautiful iridescent purple. This is probably the most complex of all of any of the glitters that they sent me, and it's super gorgeous. You also get a loose facial highlight, although really, I mean, you could use it to highlight anything, I would imagine. This is in the shade Sweet Peach, and look at how much product you get. I was saying this when I uploaded on Instagram stories, like a little sneak peek, that I forget how much product, not just in the loose powders, but in the eyeshadows you get too. It is such a good deal. Now let's talk about the pressed powders that you get. This is a an Adept Cosmetics palette, by the way. I love their dual-sided palettes, but over here on this side, you get a face powder. It's a soft pink blush / maybe a highlight, depending on your skin tone, called Belle of Georgia. It's a matte finish. Then you get 3 matte eyeshadows, all kind of sticking in with like a soft rosy coral sort of theme. There is Southern Flame, which is a medium warm red, like terracotta kind of brown. Then there is Peach Fuzz, which is like a medium deep chocolate brown. I would say that's pretty neutral. And then the lightest matte you get is called Picking Peaches, which, as you can imagine, is a soft light peach. And then you get 2 metallic shades. One is a duochrome that is called Blushing Peach. This is actually very similar to one of the texture shades that you get in the Pat McGrath Divine Rose 1 palette. I'll show you that here for a comparison. And the last shade is unlike a shadow I've seen ever, maybe. It is called Peach Harvest, and it is like a mossy gray green taupe. It is so hard to describe this. Sometimes it looks steely, sometimes it looks mossy green. I think it's going to be a shadow that just transforms depending on what other colors you pair it with and what will make the different undertones in this really pop. It is such a gorgeous shade, worn alone, worn with all of these complementary pink and peachy sort of shades. And I think it's one of those that if I were to see this online, I would kind of think it's just like another taupe, but in person, you can see it's so much more complex. So just an FYI, if they have this as a single and you're perusing the website and wondering what it's like, there's more than meets the eye when you will see this online. So those are all of the new things and bundles that Sydney Grace is launching for their Christmas in July event. Again, I'll link the website with all the details where you can see what is happening on what day. The only other thing I want to mention is there is a day where there is a deal on the cream shadows, and I've talked about them before here on the channel. They are amazing. If you've ever been curious about cream shadows, or if you already know you love cream shadows, Sydney Grace are some of the best out there. Again, you get a ton of product, and the pigmentation is out of this world. They also have duochrome cream shadows, and they do those so well. They do duochromes well across the board, but especially in their cream shadows, and I feel like that's still pretty hard to come by here in the beauty world. So definitely check those out if you've been curious. Thank you guys so much for watching. That is all I have for you today. I hope it was helpful. Please let me know what you think down in the comments below. Besides that, I will see you in the next video, guys. Bye!